Hello, everyone. It is Saturday, the 21st of January, 2023. And not only do I have a few points to discuss regarding international and national relations, but I'm also going to start showing more videos online that I've linked in my description and comment boxes. And then the books that I've mentioned on my videos, I'll show a few more again. But then I'll also just choose some random paragraphs to read out, just to show people that it's not just YouTube that I'm looking at. I'm sharing it because it's easier for people to see, because these videos that are still up, that may or may not be up for much longer, because even a lot of the links, I have to keep going through them, because a lot of accounts get deleted, right? We're very, very censored. And even me, my YouTube accounts have been deleted a few times, which is why I'm restarting again. It's not because I just got on YouTube. I've been doing this for a few years. I keep on getting deleted, even on LinkedIn and other accounts, and shadow banned, and you name it. Oh my goodness, down a list. And so yeah, so information that I've already put out there and or discussed, but they're on archived videos right now and or on Rumble. And you can find me at Don189 on Rumble, and then also DAWNNE DUSSAULT for Instagram and Twitter, and I believe YouTube as well. And anyway, it is what it is. In the news in the last 24 hours, things that really stressed me out a lot, and I can't believe that this is stuff that's happening in Canada. But Jeremy Mackenzie, he's part of Raging Dissident. He's a podcaster who's a veteran, and who's been speaking out on the mandates and the forced inoculations and lies that are being told to us internationally. And because of that, he's been a political prisoner. He was sent to jail and over bogus allegations, and making him appear to be a threat to Canada, when in fact it's the complete opposite. He's been trying to fight on behalf of Canada and Canadians literally now for the last few years, and getting vilified, character assassinated, getting his whole life disrupted, right? And he was again in prison. He was in isolation for days at a time. And again, a veteran, obviously, this is not easy. He has a family, he has kids, and yeah. And then now Scotia Bank, they just called him. I've shared the video that the guy that Jeremy recorded with one of the representatives from Scotia Bank, and it's just appalling. It's disgusting that they're saying the only reason why they're giving him a call instead of just the letter is because he's been with them for such a long time and in good standing. And so now, I guess, because of all the stuff that's been going on, they literally have not only taken away his freedoms and then put him in isolation and quarantined him just because he wasn't vaccinated, and claims that he could have COVID, you know what I mean? And only given the option of doing a PCR test, no mouth swabs or rapid tests, and then finally, eventually, after weeks, finally giving him that opportunity. And then even when he was there in prison as a political prisoner, waiting for a hearing, of a bogus charges or allegations of things, people say stupid things, but he's not a politician. He's not an elected official. He's someone that is gonna make mistakes that is not that says dumb things. And unfortunately, when people take things so freaking literally, this is again with the censorship and making people afraid to even speak out on behalf of Canadians, because this is what happens. So the bank is shutting him out, right? So he has mortgages, loans, he's been his car and all of his insurance and stuff like that is with this bank, and they're denying him any future business. And so he has to find another bank and other financial institutions to approve him to get his finances for his living conditions, and again, being a veteran, everything is linked to this account. So then there's a whole bunch of changes that will need to be made in order to get his payments or whatever transferred into other accounts for a banking institution that would even be willing to take him on, right? And there would likely be with now considered a higher risk for friggin' bogus stuff. And this is stuff that I blame people our elected officials for doing this to innocent people that are literally trying to do the best for Canada. It's just so infuriating that they would actually do that. And so I would highly encourage people to speak out. I've tagged Scotiabank in a lot of posts. I've shared the videos publicly, and I've publicly, obviously, I'm talking about this on social media. So on a video, it's appalling. This is literally dictatorship. This is tyranny, and our government is now is now working like even with like the airlines and like it's just so much control. Like it's just we need to not allow this stuff to keep happening and not allow people to just make decisions like that ruin people's lives and their children's lives and he's supporting other people as well just because of like a woke cancel culture. It's just beyond not okay, right? And this person clearly would be like a Nazi in Europe in World War I and World War II. And I know that they were only like officially like like created in World War I. But I've also just shared two even more open letters and stats and proof that the majority of the atrocities and murders and people that were getting slaughtered, the Jews that were slaughtered, that was all done in other countries, not Germany, places like Romania, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Hungary. Like these are the places where the mass atrocities were committed. And and just people allowing this to happen. And these were the countries that were socialist communist countries. And this is where throughout history, even in China and North Korea, Venezuela, so many, like the list goes on. Once you get to be like more extreme left, and then you have like an authoritarian regime dictating like the controls, this is this is where the most murder of innocent human beings have happened, and they're trying to escalate like more like war, propaganda out there, and bringing like tanks like from Germany to Ukraine, and and how is that not going to be seen as like an escalation of force? And again, I will reiterate that there have been allegations that are very like even by the aid, like a long-term aid to President Zelensky in the Ukraine, like admitting on the record and then it having to be taken off the record that Ukrainian air defense was responsible for the tragic events that happened like last weekend. And it is what it is. Possible like Russian an attempt, like at a missile strike. But what they're saying is, in any case, there's no proof of that, but there is proof of like the missile air debris and all that other stuff, and reports of witnesses, and so it is what it is. Saskatchewan, there was just a court appeal ruling for there was a man and a woman that have been divorced since 2014, and this child is now 12, but I'm assuming was probably 11 when this whole thing started. But the father was trying to force this child to get inoculated with this COVID jab, and all the way up to court. And like just before this January hearing, there was a court that approved him like his appeal to force her to get a jab that she did not want, and her mother as well was saying that she like fully supported her child and did not want her to get vaccinated because of the psychological and emotional duress that it could possibly have, and then also that her child did her own research and it would be taking away her own consent for her own body by forcing an inoculation on her. Like, what is wrong with this man, right? And so I don't know. But luckily, it just got overturned, and the ruling, luckily, just like in the last few days, is on the side of the child and the mother to not allow this man, to have like complete authoritarian control over his daughter's body, like that, and like against her will. Like, what is wrong with this person, right? And these are lifelong ramifications. And again, there's been so many side effects now as well, and countries that have banned these therapeutics for people even under the age of 65, and then 50, and then 40, you name it. And then people again like halting this altogether, and more information coming out with like a lot of the censorship of actual fact-based information, and even from people like me, again, like showing scientific, medical, and government data coming from so many different countries that were showing the original trials, them being debunked, like not aspirating needles, the therapeutics like not being controlled, like third-party controls, showing that like in a lot of the the vials, like they were showing like silicone, heavy metals, other viruses, and then even like people saying that they were getting the accidental flu shots, going in for flu shots and accidentally getting COVID shots, and vice versa, even in the last couple of years as well. And PCR tests repeatedly cycling at over 35 is going to confirm a false positive. This has all been stuff that's been clear since the beginning. And these people that are still in leadership, elected officials, are like they and their families and friends have taken billions of dollars from us in the process, and because no one's doing anything about it. We're just all just sitting back and allowing this stuff to happen, just like we allowed things to happen in World War II. At the end of the war, when most of the atrocities were committed, just make sure that you kill as many of them as you could before they could be free. Like, just insane things. And anyway. And also with Chrystia Freeland, I've said this repeatedly as well. She's our deputy minister, and the worst one in the history, like in Canada's history, like ancient history and up to now. Facts. And she's also our finance minister, and so many banks, again, just like reporting instrumental, significantly large losses, and because of people like her, and then people collecting CERB, like our unemployment rates through the roof, like groceries and gas, like it just so expensive now, and gotten worse just even in the last year, and it's because of her. And so she's also on the board of trustees for the World Economic Forum, and so how is this not a conflict of interest? And so she's been repeatedly called out for this, but I'm going to reiterate, she's on the board of trustees for the World Economic Forum, okay? And these are not good organizations. We've seen WEF, when they've gone into other countries and exploited them for their resources, and forced inoculations on people, that they've caused like the injury and death and fertility issues and stuff like that, by the way, of millions of people, and then economic ruin and collapse, and like this push on like a woke culture and socialist. It's all, again, like not good for Canada. It's not a model that can be adopted here, and she needs to be fired. Like, how is she not fired? And Jacinda Ardern, she resigned just recently, because like a lot of stuff has been leaked, and she knows that soon there would just be too much information given to the public, where they would be forcing her to resign anyways, right? So she's doing it now because she's trying to get ahead of the game, and that's the same thing with Fauci and these other people. And so they're just gonna go away and hide while they harmed millions of people and exploited us, and then even planning like more pandemics for 2025 and all these other things to hide vaccine injuries, further ones. But yeah, I don't know. So I think on that note, I'm going to do something a little differently. Actually, I'm going to show my books first, because like I'm getting more people like on my comments saying like, oh, you're not proving anything regarding flat earth. But I'm saying, like, have you looked at the links? Let's start there. Or have you looked at the titles of the books and read the books that I've mentioned repeatedly when I talk about flat earth stuff? So if you haven't done any of that stuff, then why are you talking to me like saying that like you haven't proved anything? Okay. So anyway, this is a good book. It's called Scientism Exposed, by Robbie Davidson, and it's a good read, and it even talks here about here's a list of experiments attempting to prove the rotations of movement of the earth throughout history. And then you've got so this is talking about like stationary earth, right? So this stability of the earth, it's not only in religion and various different scientific communities and astronomical communities that believe that the earth is stationary, but there's like any attempt to prove otherwise has failed, right? So you've got Sir George Biddell Airy in 1871, failed. Michelson Morley, 1887, it failed. Totten Noble, 1901 to 1903, failed. I can go down the list, there's more. Chase, 1926, 1927, failed. Hayden, 1994, failed. Albert Einstein, theory of relativity, failed. The Sagnac effect, 1913, failed. Scientism in space. If we look back in history, we can see how the separation between science and occultism is a fairly modern thing. Back then, science or alchemy was strictly in bond with ancient knowledge and doctrines. An interesting character at the beginning of the 20th century was John Whiteside Parsons, born in 1914, who was a boy with a passion for rockets. From a young age, he played and experimented with small rockets in the backyard of his parents' house with the help of his grandfather. Eventually, he became a rocket propulsion expert, a chemist, and above all, he got involved with Thelema, Aleister Crowley's new religion. So Parsons was one of the first initial founders of the JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and the one who created the first rocket engine to use a castable composite rocket propellant. Anyway, it goes down the list. He reached a certain critical point. The people who were in fact behind his projects and those throwing their money into this field decided that his time was over. So with a swift move, they removed his name and legacy from the rocketry history of the United States. So again, like I guess people's like even at that point in time, people's scientific experiments and work taken away, just like Tesla and Thomas Edison and Shakespeare and so many others. people that created masterworks, and others claim that Don Pettit, who was a NASA astronaut, probably still is, I believe, stated that he would go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is that we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed all that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. Like, these are all, again, like, just like lies that people like Don Pettit say. And he also like admits that like any photos of the stars and the planets and Earth and things like that are CGI. They're edited, they're photoshopped, they're overlay. And they say because they have to. And even the marble and how it looks and how like the different planets look, it's changed significantly throughout the years as well. And they're trying to say like, oh, the original picture is 1972. No, it's not. Come on. Anyways, but there's a lot of scientific stuff in here. Like I just mentioned one like scientific person, but there's even like with Pythagoras, no Pythagoras, but with I wanted to show you the 8 inches per mile squared for the like even like seeing beyond like what this like fake curve that people claim that we can see. It might not be in this book, but there's just so much science in here, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. There it is though. So like this here is to calculate the like the curvature of the Earth, and repeatedly debunked. So that's one book that I would highly encourage people to take a look at. Eleanor Kirk, The Influence of the Zodiac Upon Human Life. That's just more on astronomy. And, oh, I also have a flat Earth picture that I'll show you after, but I got Flat Atlantis by Eric Dubay. And here's the, like a model. This is Mercator's flat Earth map model. But again, this is just like a portion of it where I believe, like, we don't know yet what's beyond the dome or what the shape of the dome is. It could be circular, it could be square, it could be a freaking like whatever. But we knew, but there's a lot of accounts again of the Mount Meru or Rupert Nigra in the middle, a magnetic mountain, and then like 4 rivers separating like these different lands, and then like more land like outward, and then even beyond what we're seeing like past Antarctica, possibly like more hidden land. And I've showed that too with like Japanese maps and Malaysian maps and stuff like that, showing accounts of these hidden lands. And then Smoky Mountain God, and so many older accounts of people that have gone on expeditions from like Greenland and or like Norway or Russia, like other areas that like are like north of Canada that have also discussed this. And so the mountain being magnetic and that's why the compasses all point towards that direction. They're even like talking about like the golden ratios and Fibonacci sequence and so many older accounts, ancient accounts of what people described the Earth as to appear, like what it looked like. And then also showing like facts about the astronauts, about Stanley Kubrick faking the like staging the moon landing, faking it. And then also just showing like the different light, like showing that there was different like areas where there was like light being cast like on the people, and how like the backdrop was fake and overlaid onto the like the video, and the shadows too, like it's all like impossible. Showing like camera people or crew through like the visors. And I've even shown too on like live streams, like these NASA live streams as well, where they've glitched out and made errors, and shown that they were not in space, that they were like underwater and or in these like zero gravity, like these green rooms, and they had harnesses strapped up, and you can see that in their stuff as well. But yeah, like just like all these accounts of science in this book as well. I would highly recommend that one. And then you've got Is the Bible from Heaven? Is the Earth a Globe by Alex Gleason. This is from like the 1800s. And this is like another example of, again, like a map, like a flat Earth map with a mountain or whatever you're going to call it in the middle. And there's a lot of freaking math in this book, and charts and diagrams by Alex Gleason. And yeah, I highly encourage people to read these, because again, I'm not going to go through these whole books, like read them all. You can also search them online, because you can go on YouTube and there are people on various groups that do take the time to actually take a book and they'll actually read it out, like, and that's what they do. Like, that's what the whole channel is about, the whole video is about, is just taking a look at a book and reading it. So this is Astrological World Cycles, original edition, copyright 1933 by Terramata. Again, like, more on astronomy and the like, even with chronology. So various chronological areas, for example. So no such universality can be claimed for any other method of chronological reckoning. All systems of national or religious timekeeping have meaning only for a limited group of adherents and serve as stumbling stones for historians, since these groups often leave records dated without explanation by various chronological calendars, such as civil and religious. Thus, the year 1932 AD of the Christian era corresponds to the year 5693 of the Jewish era, the year 2592 of the Japanese era, the year 1351 of the Mohammedan era, and the year Mohammedan era, and the year 2244 of the Grecian Seleucid era of present-day usage among the Syrians. Further, of the many chronological eras followed in modern times in various parts of the world, some are reckoned by years based on solar returns, and others on years based on 12 or 13 lunar returns. There is thus room for much confusion among later students of history in their efforts to correctly synchronize past events. So there's so many books too that talk about more ancient, advanced civilizations that predate what we believe, and that we need to consider that what we're calling the new inventions or technological designs. It's been done before, and only at this time, like, re-released to the public based on where we're at in this cycle. Robotham, Parallax, Zetetic Astronomy, Earth is not a globe. Like, this is another really good one. Like, that's an older book that discusses a lot of this stuff. You've got William Carpenter, who I mentioned before, 100 Proofs that the Earth is not a globe. Like, so, like, people are saying, like, oh, you just go on YouTube videos. That's been, like, sorry, I'm not saying everyone. Like, I've just been getting, like, a few comments just in the last 24 hours, again, saying that I'm not proving anything, but I can't sway anyone, right? Like, it's up to people to make their own assessments and decide for themselves. So that there's a lot of videos that I see even online or books that I read where I'm not looking at everything and believing in everything that I'm reading. I'm just taking what I believe applies to my belief systems or what I'm thinking, and then take away the stuff that I don't believe in. Because even people like Randall Carlson and John Graham, like, there's a lot of stuff that they say that, like, I don't believe at all. Like, I believe that they have a lot of good information that they say, but I also believe that they say things like, oh, it's everyone knows, or this is a fact, over things that are clearly not facts. And people like me and many other people that I know that are really into the science of this stuff, we don't believe it at all. Like that. And so it is what it is. So yeah, 100 Proofs that the Earth is not a globe. If you just go down the itinerary or the index, the aeronaut sees for himself, standing water level. So I was just going down the list, but just before I go into videos, it goes into descriptions, then it goes into the actual list. So number 1, the aeronaut can see for himself that Earth is a plane. The appearance it presented to him, even at the highest elevation he has ever attained, is that of a concave surface. This being exactly what is it to be expected of a surface that is truly level, since it is the nature of level surfaces to appear to rise to a level with the eye of the observer. This is ocular demonstration and proof that the Earth is not a globe. I think that those two words need to be flipped. What is to be expected of a surface? Okay, yeah, no, you can say it either way. Number 2, whenever experiments have been tried on the surface of standing water, this surface has always been found to be level. If the Earth were a globe, the surface of all standing water would be convex. This is the experimental proof that Earth is not a globe. Number 3, surveyors' operations in the construction of railroads, tunnels, or canals are conducted without the slightest allowance being made for curvature. Although it is taught that this is called allowance, although it is taught that this so-called allowance is absolutely necessary. This is a cutting proof that Earth is not a globe. So even with Coriolis effect and things like that, even for snipers, I worked with snipers. I married a sniper. They don't factor that in for their and I didn't either. Like I never factored that in. Wind, yes, and temperature and stuff like that. But Coriolis effect, spin of the Earth, nope. See, I'm going on these tangents. And I've been in helicopters. I've been in like in Chinooks. I've been in various different aircrafts, what do you want to call it? And like I've always seen like the plane, like just like a flat plane, as high as I've gone up and as far up as I've gone. The light, number 5, the lights which are exhibited in lighthouses are seen by navigators at distances at which, according to the scale of the supposed curvature given by astronomers, they ought to be many hundreds of feet, in some cases down below the line of sight. For instance, their light at Cape Hatteras, Hatteras, is seen at such a distance, 40 miles, that according to theory, it ought to be 900 feet higher above the level of the sea than it absolutely is, in order to be visible. So more conclusive proof. Number 8, if the Earth were a globe, a small model globe would be the very best, because the truest thing for the navigator to take to sea with him. Oh, sorry. If the Earth were a globe, a small model globe would be the very best, because the truest thing for a navigator to take to sea with him, but such a thing that is not known. Sorry, this is like an older like English, so like some of the words are like a little bit more like they're a little different than English that we're used to today, or that I'm used to today as well. So I'm like already like looking beyond like the sentence, and I shouldn't be doing that. I'm trying to predict like the sentence, like what it's supposed to sound like, instead of actually just reading the words. But anyway, number 10, the mariner's compass points north and south at the same time, is a fact and indisputable as that 2 and 2 makes 4. But that this would be impossible if the thing were placed in a globe with north and south at the center of opposite hemispheres. It is a fact that does not figure in the school books, though very easily seen, and it requires no lengthy train of reasoning to bring out of it a pointed proof that the Earth is not a globe. So, so many other things too, like even with the rotation of the planets and the stars, they're trying to state that the Earth is spinning in a counterclockwise direction, but we clearly see, above us, that these are all things that are moving in a clockwise direction. And so why is it that they're doing this in such perfect symmetry? All the planets, stars, in the night sky, very predictable patterns with time lapses being done, like even like over a year period, that show like this perfect movement above us, and then all these proofs that the Earth is a stationary plane as well. It just I've done like so much reading and experiments, and even going on my own, right, and seeing this stuff for myself, and then even I've talked about like having like these crystal pyramids that I have, where, and then globes. And like even on a globe, like you can't actually project like a circle like on a surface with a globe, because I've tried to do this, like even like using the sun like to reflect, and I've done bathtub experiments with like various different like temperatures of water, and then seeing sacred geometry and like and what looks to be like sun and the moon. But like even this, like you need a point in order to project like a circle, unfortunately, like and a pyramid, or I guess square, or anyways, like just like taking a look at different shapes, clear shapes, and seeing like the rainbows that can be reflected, and like the different designs and patterns that can be created simultaneously in multiple different surfaces, is very I don't know, I would highly recommend it. And then like the sun and the moon, like the electric, dielectric, magnetic, like components of the Earth, this being like a flat plane of inertia, but again something that's being like influenced by toroidal fields, which is throughout all occult groups and religions and everything. It's and whatever you want to call it, the toroidal fields with the hourglass in the center. These are all represented, like this symbol is represented, like it's one of the oldest and most widely known symbols throughout ancient and present day history. And it's all like, again, like symbolic of that, and with the red and the blue, and electricity versus dielectricity and magnetism, and like the like the sun being magnetic and something that radiates, and then the moon being something that's electric and vibrates. Electricity being like vibrational, and magnetism being something that like that uses radiation or that projects radiation. And so even with like what we're calling like a radioactive, you know, activity as being, you know, dangerous, you know, is possibly the complete opposite. And we can possibly be, again, like misled about like one other thing that that is the complete opposite. And so I've talked about anyways, I'm going on all these freaking tangents, but I want to talk about more about flat earth. I was just about to talk about nuclear like stuff again, but no, I'm going to show you guys some videos though, just to show you like what I'm talking about when people are trying to slam these videos that I'm talking about. Oh yeah, I gotta reverse it. So this is one video. I hope that the internet's working well, but this is the next level. It's linked.
And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House.
Challenger, only seconds after leaving the launch pad, according to NASA, has exploded.
It just has the same seats that like a normal car has. It's just literally a normal car in space.
We're going back to the moon, back to the future, and this time, back to stay.
I should tell you that the first mission is scheduled to land on Mars on July the 4th, 1997.
We will undertake extended human missions to the moon as early as 2015.
We launched a new spacecraft as part of a re-energized space program that will send American astronauts to Mars.
We will not only plant our flag and leave our footprint for an eventual mission to Mars.
What you're seeing here is a mirage. It is Photoshop, but it's has to be. 5, 4.
That was Tom Pettit speaking, saying that, admitting it.
The one thing globe believers need to understand is that you don't just take the spinning ball Earth and flatten it out and put it back in the heliocentric model. Like it's just the only misfit planet and it's flat and the rest of the planets are round. No flat earther has ever said that. No flat earther will ever say that because it's not what we believe. The Earth isn't a pancake floating in outer space.
Because that's ridiculous.
And you will never hear a flat earther say that.
That's so
and if you
stupid.
would ever actually take the time to study it for yourself or hear a flat earther through, then you would find that it's much different and things would actually make more sense.
They've got the narrative control to where anyone that goes to search for this, they're going to see pancakes floating up in space, you know, and it turns people away. Or they see a snow globe out in the middle of space with water falling off the sides, and they're like, what is this? It turns them away. The mainstream agenda was to push their false narrative, all these hit pieces on flat Earth. 2016, 2017, those are pretty much the end of the YouTube era, where we could actually find real evidence, real, you know, content. Any search engine, the algorithms are suited to their favor. You're going to see all the hit pieces. You're going to see all the stuff that's there to debunk flat Earth. So it's just it's almost impossible to get the real information.
YouTube played their part in it, and not just cherry picking which videos they wanted to show, but deciding whether or not they wanted you to subscribe to somebody. So on several occasions and with several different content creators, I'd press the subscribe button to then find out several days or several weeks later that I couldn't find that content creator.
Yep, me too.
Assuming they'd either been deleted or they've been censored beyond
I was
belief.
one of those people.
And of course they had been, because my subscription that was previously made was no longer there. And I know that I hadn't unsubscribed to anybody. And then resubscribing, you'd find again that down the line that the same things reoccurred.
There's a major campaign by Google and YouTube and all of these corporate lying companies to discredit the flat earth. Why do they have that disclaimer under every video dealing with the topic of flat earth, that it is an archaic, antiquated, outdated model that the ancients used to believe in? Of course, the ancients were stupid. They didn't know how to build Gothic cathedrals, and they didn't know how to build cities and pyramids.
The problem is, people that think that flat earth is stupid think flat earth is stupid because they're thinking of a stupid flat earth. And they ridicule and make fun of flat earthers. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Since 2015, the content providers for Flat Earth have had a living hell. We have been ridiculed, we have been trolled, we have been censored beyond belief by YouTube. It's really difficult to get the truth out there.
YouTube controls the algorithm. Who owns YouTube? Google.
What's going on?
They went really, really, really tough with their implementation of the Antarctic Treaty and everything else, and just to keep people away from the truth. They didn't want people to know about more land.
Haven't we been fighting over land forever? Isn't that what always happens? Countries fighting over land, but not on the outskirts of Antarctica. Oh, no, no, no. No fighting there. They're all in agreement. You can't go there. You can't explore any of it.
That treaty was in effect in 1959. It can't even be questioned until the year 2041. The longest lasting treaty that all of the world signed on to at the same time and is still in place. Antarctica is the container of our world oceans. What is beyond Antarctica? Why is the government hiding Antarctica from us? Why is Antarctica completely off limits except for taking a tour of a little peninsula off of South America, which is nothing? And people go, well, you can go to Antarctica.
We spent months trying to actually do it. I was going to send a crew. They won't call back. You can't even go there. There's one peninsula where you look at penguins. So
Exactly. And then you think, I have some friends that went to South Pole. Yeah, they put them in that little island with penguins. You can't just
Then you went to Antarctica and you walked around it. He's like being in New Jersey and saying you were chilling in California. It's huge.
There's about 100 different companies that you can spend a lot of money to go on a little guided tour of just that peninsula, but all of those companies are owned under one umbrella. One person controls them all. They don't let anybody explore Antarctica.
Will be a international headline in about 5 minutes. Australian Navy ship shoots.
Facing our way. Bad boys, shield.
Is it?
The turret is turning our way.
The turret's turning at us.
Boy, we should hide Adrian in case they get left.
Just go. That's a drone.
Got the drones out and everything. Of course I have drones.
When people say, why the lie? One of the main answers is they're hiding more land.
What if we can truly become free? The whole reason for this is because of more land. Because think about it, if there's more real estate, if there's more resources, natural resources, if there's more food for our starving children, if there's more space, more room for us to get away from the trafficking, if there's places where we can go and other civilizations we can be a part of, where they don't charge you for water, they don't charge you for free energy, they don't charge you for property taxes. What if there is more land?
Nobody can go explore Antarctica, period. Because if humanity found out there's more land, then the heliocentric theory is gone. They can't start adding more continents on the bottom of a ball. It's just, they wanted it silenced right away.
There is evidence out there through old maps, namely the 1,000-year-old Japanese Kawabashi map, which shows continents and lands outwardly of what they call the ice shelf or the ice wall.
So why are they teaching the globe model? Well, you see, the globe is a container, and it's a container of all the known land. The Jesuits and the Freemasons, they needed a new model because they wanted a new world order.
Because right now on a ball or in a snow globe, there's only 7 continents. That's all there is. So everything is it's very limited. We have a limited supply.
Resources are very scarce because the Earth is a globe, right? It's cut off. Everything's cut off. If you open it up and there is more land, then there's plenty of resources. More land means more resources. No, that's huge if they're hiding something like that. There's a scene in the Truman Show where Truman is like, I want to be an explorer when I get older.
I like to be an explorer, like the Great Magellan. Oh, well, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
Imagine if there's like all these beautiful places to explore still, and finding out that there's all this land, it just opens up the door for discovery again.
Have you ever heard of the eyewitness testimony written in the books? The
And why
Iron
can't
Republic,
he go there
The
still
Smoky God, Worlds
and
Beyond the
explore
Poles?
still? Yeah, these books are good.
In the late
Oh, yes.
1800s,
I've
there
talked
was
about
a
that one.
series of articles written in Florida Magazine about a politician that was tired of what was going on here, got a big ship and a crew, was exploring Antarctica, and he found a passageway through, and he popped out into the ocean, was lost for about a month. Finally, they found land with a...
From the gravitational force that the Earth is trying.
Maps with 5, it calls this Mount Meru. And why are we not allowed to go anywhere near there? Well, simply
That's the North Pole
because
now. Mount
you
Meru.
cannot go there. It is a magnetic toroidal hyperbola.
That's what he thinks.
Therefore, there is no way that you can fly anywhere near the North Pole in the center of the Earth.
There may be a
Admiral
way to
Richard
get
Byrd said
beyond
he
the
found
wind,
more land,
like
you know,
tutorial
in
field,
the
like
north
wind,
as
and,
well
and
as
get
the
to the eye of the
south.
storm,
There's a book called The Smoky God of a Father and Son.
or the eye of the tornado.
Ended up finding more land in a race of giants with technology beyond your wildest imagination.
Reading notes that someone handed him, kind of like people on TV nowadays.
There is no optical experiment ever been conducted that can prove that the Earth is moving.
The Earth is spinning at 1,040 miles an hour. You can't feel it. You can't measure it. You can't observe it. You can't repeat it. But trust us, there's not one experiment that shows the Earth is spinning or moving whatsoever. There is, however, an experiment that was proven in Behind the Curve.
Bob Nodell was talking about the ring laser gyro, showing that there is apparent 15 degrees drift throughout most of the day.
Is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
And this was taken out of context. It was later, the experiment was done at a higher altitude, and it showed a different rotation speed, which absolutely proves it's not the Earth that's moving, that it's the ether that is spinning above us.
Netflix is mainstream. Netflix is the alternative mainstream narrative. Netflix can't go against the grain. They'll lose their contract.
A documentary, like a mockumentary. I'm sure someone watched our movie and was like, whoever made this movie is a government shill, and
Sure.
they were just trying to hide it. On Netflix in on it, trying to hide it.
Yeah,
he accidentally proves that the Earth is round.
It was the biggest mic drop. It was the biggest mic drop. And I love that you kind of cut it.
The thing is, we have technology that is outrunning their lives. Now we have time lapse. Ooh, imagine that. We have time lapse where you can point at the sky, and year after year, day after day, hour after hour, the sky's spinning.
Every day there should be different stars, random stars, in the sky if we are travelling at 650 million miles an hour, which is Mach 870,000. Do you really believe that every year we move through space at 5.5 trillion miles every year? And yet every year the same stars keep turning over our Earth. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, year after year after year, and yet none of those constellations
That's Santos Bonacci.
distort, change shape, get brighter. There has never been, in recorded history, we have never seen any star get brighter or dimmer or any shape of those constellations which are still recognizable today as they were thousands of years ago. They never suffer any parallax or distortion.
Polaris has never moved in all of recorded history. Point your camera up at Polaris and do a time lapse and watch God's perfect timepiece.
Georgia Guidestones even proved it. They had one of the stones actually pointed directly towards Polaris.
5 trillion. 6
People know, the people that made the Guidestones knew.
million miles through space every year. Congratulations to you if you believe that. It's called education, indoctrination, and dumbing down.
We are proud to announce that this theater will soon bring you the greatest array of pictures ever to reach our screen.
If you look back in history, you got Universal, their company. They started off with a logo with a globe in it, but it wasn't until like the 1920s that they actually had the motion one where it was a spinning globe. And they actually had an airplane in the early ones, like leaving a chemtrail that said Universal, which is kind of funny. Nobody has been high enough to even see what it looked like. They were definitely trying to instill the image of a globe in people's heads because obviously early on in the movie industry, they were one of the most popular companies to make movies, so people were going to the theater and seeing this globe.
So they're showing you a globe before every single movie to program your mind. They were showing this globe before they even went up there to see what it was. I think the first man ever to go up and check is Picard going up there. I mean, that's a story we're not taught in school.
From the practical point of view, Professor Picard's experiment is of the highest possible importance.
These timelines, these dates, these are facts.
We got August Picard coming out in the 1930s in an actual publication by a science journal saying that the Earth looks like a flat disc with an upturned edge.
Besides Universal programming you, you had Walt Disney programming you with space documentaries for almost 15 years straight.
Some pretty crazy propaganda in the 1950s. There was one called Man in Space. He's talking about taking men to the moon in a rocket. And then if we cruise on, we got Richard E. Byrd. He goes on Longines chronoscope and he's sitting down and he's telling people,
strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being.
Shortly after Richard E. Byrd did that interview, they put the Antarctic Treaty in place, and then 1 year later, NASA is established.
Almost 0 hour at Cape Canaveral, and enlarged 16mm pictures show a monkey specially trained and conditioned for voyaging in space. 2 monkeys had been selected for the job. They called them Abel and Baker.
Take a schoolroom globe, and it's how high.
They're trying to sell it as 23 miles up, there's curvature. Even though people will sit there and swear they saw curvature out of an airplane 10 miles high. Yeah, okay. So your priest Neil deGrasse Tyson admits 23 miles up, no curves. How do you feel about that? Alright, maybe you say that's no big deal. Okay. Even though Felix Baumgartner himself said he could see the curvature of the Earth.
It's almost overwhelming. Are you standing there in a pressure suit? The only thing that you hear is yourself breathing. You can see the curvature of the Earth. You can see the sky is totally black. You can see the curvature of the
liar.
Earth. You can see the curvature of the
edited.
Earth.
You can see the curvature of the Earth.
That's 120,000 feet, 4 times higher than most passenger planes fly.
So that should make you go, right away, what's going on here? Who's lying, right? But you don't think there's an agenda here? You don't think people are lying here? Fast forwarding to recently, Richard Branson is Mr. Billionaire himself.
Officially the first billionaire to travel to space, Sir Richard Branson.
So you go 63 miles up, you would all probably assume that, of course, you could see this giant curve of Earth. You're 63 miles up. Richard Branson supposedly goes up 63 miles, even though it's nothing but fisheye lens footage. We expose that. Here comes Neil deGrasse Tyson again. Damage control time.
Oh, by the way, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you. Do you know how high up above the Earth he was?
No.
So if you take a
63 miles.
Well, yeah, tell you what. So take a schoolroom globe, and that's how high above it is he?
Take a schoolroom globe.
About
Propaganda.
millimeters above the surface of a school.
No, he's not.
So nobody's seen
I can even
curvature
debunk the 25,000 kilometer diameter of the Earth.
You can't
Not
see the curve
possible.
out of an airplane.
You've already lied about
10
the
miles.
diameter.
You agree? I hope you agree so far. Okay. So 10 miles up, no curve. Red Bull 23 miles up, no curve. Branson 63 miles up, no curve. So where is this curve at that you swear by?
And how did we discover
Because
this
if you live on a
before
block,
we had these
how big the
balloons
ball is,
and these
it'd be 4
aircrafts from
times the
Wilbur
size
Wright?
of what they told us.
Orville and
You
Wilbur
would
Wright.
still
Come on.
see a physical curve at some point. That's what the horizon's supposed to be. That's how the sun is going. I mean, it's a curve of the earth. All these theories involved with the curve of the earth get thrown out the window.
Yep.
That's what happens with a new.
What about sunset? You explain that. What about season? You explain that. And then they throw their hands up. They go, well, why does it matter? What difference does it make? I still have to go to work tomorrow. That's right where they want you. They want you working in your slave job. They want you.
1-0.
This one's like over 6 hours long. And again, you have to go through these videos before you actually like attack me, like people usually love to do. And these are all things that I reference. These are only 2 videos out of like the hundreds. Stanley Kubrick faked this, admitted it. This is Eric Dubé. The best flat earth documentary. You need to watch this, it's so good.
To swallow. Fuck all your bravado. If you're dissing Mr. Dubé, you're dead or your head's just hollow. I used to marvel at your little blue marble, but now it's impossible to continent your global model. Life on the ball, fantastic, we don't fall. Ain't it amazing how the sun can shine so high? That's what they told you. Life on the ball, gravity explains it all. That explains everything. Be thankful that
the clouds are not changing. I hope you're reading this stuff.
Wolves in sheep's clothing have pulled the wool over our eyes. For almost 500 years, the masses have been thoroughly deceived by a cosmic fairy tale of astronomical proportions. We have been taught a falsehood so gigantic and diabolical that it has blinded us from our own experience and common sense, from seeing the world and the universe as they truly are. Through pseudoscience books and programs, mass media and public education, universities and government propaganda, the world has been systematically brainwashed, slowly indoctrinated over centuries into the unquestioning belief of the greatest lie of all time. David Wardlaw Scott said, "Children are taught in their geography books, when too young to apprehend aright the meaning of such things, that the world is a great globe revolving around the sun, and the story is repeated continuously year by year till they reach maturity, at which time they generally become so absorbed in other matters as to be indifferent as to whether the teaching be true or not, and as they hear of nobody contradicting it, they presume that it must be the correct thing, if not to believe, at least to receive it as a fact. They thus tacitly give their assent to a theory which, if it had first been presented to them at what are called years of discretion, they would at once have rejected. The consequences of evil teaching, whether in religion or in science, are far more disastrous than is generally supposed, especially in a luxurious, laissez-faire age like our own. The intellect becomes weakened, and the conscience seared. For 500 years, an elite cabal of sun worshippers has propagated this nihilistic, atheistic cosmology and cosmogony, unquestioningly believed by the vast majority of the world. We have been taught, contrary to all common sense and experience, that the seemingly motionless, flat earth beneath our feet is actually a massive, moving ball spinning through space at over 1,000 miles per hour, wobbling and tilted 23.5 degrees on its vertical axis, while orbiting the sun at a blinding 67,000 miles per hour, in concert with the entire solar system spiraling 500,000 miles per hour around the Milky Way and careening across the expanding universe away from the Big Bang at an incredible 670 million miles per hour, but that you can feel and experience none of it. We have been taught that a mysterious force called gravity, a magical magnetism responsible for keeping everything from falling or flying off the spinning ball Earth, is just strong enough to hold people, oceans, and the atmosphere tightly to the surface, but just weak enough to allow bugs, birds, and planes to take off with ease. David Wardlaw Scott wrote, I remember being taught when a boy that the Earth was a great ball revolving at a very rapid rate around the sun, and when I expressed to my teacher my fears that the waters of the oceans would tumble off, I was told that they were prevented from doing so by Newton's great law of gravitation, which kept everything in its proper place. I presume that my countenance must have shown some signs of incredulity, for my teacher immediately added, I can show you a direct proof of this. A man can whirl around his head a pail filled with water without its being spilt, and so, in like manner, can the oceans be carried round the sun without losing a drop. As this illustration was evidently intended to settle the matter, I then said no more upon the subject. Had such been proposed to me afterwards as a man, I would have answered somewhat as follows. Sir, I beg to say that the illustration you have given of a man whirling a pail of water round his head, and the oceans revolving round the sun, does not in any degree confirm your argument, because the water in the two cases is placed under entirely different circumstances, but, to be of any value, the conditions in each case must be the same, which here they are not. The pail is a hollow vessel, which holds the water inside it, whereas, according to your teaching, the earth is a ball, with a continuous curvature outside, which, in agreement with the laws of nature, could not retain any water. We have been taught that the ball Earth spins at a constant velocity, perfectly dragging the atmosphere along so we cannot feel the slightest bit of motion, perturbation, wind, or air resistance. They say we cannot feel any of this motion because the magical Velcro of gravity pulls the atmosphere precisely along, and we cannot measure any of this motion because the stars are so incredibly far away that over 100 million miles of supposed annual orbit around the sun amounts to not a single inch of relative parallax change. How convenient. We have been taught that the apparent orbit of the sun, planets, and stars, but not the moon, around the earth are all optical illusions, that it is, in fact, the earth beneath our feet which moves, and our eyes that deceive us. Special exception is made for the moon, however, which is said to revolve around the earth, just as it appears. Since we only ever see one side of the moon, we have been taught this is because the moon's supposed 10.3 mile per hour west to east rotation, combined with its 2,288 mile per hour orbit of Earth, just happens to be the exact motion and speed necessary to perfectly cancel out the Earth's supposed 1,000 mile per hour east to west rotation and 67,000 mile per hour orbit of the Sun, thereby creating the perpetual dark side of the moon illusion. Oh, really? Though the sun and moon appear to be relatively small, equal-sized bodies revolving around a stationary Earth, we have a few miles in comparison. Same 24 hours it has to pass over the smaller northern region, its passage must necessarily be proportionally faster as well. This is why the Antarctic morning dawn and evening twilight are very abrupt, whereas in extreme north, twilight continues for hours after.
That's the sine wave that I make the connections with the astronomy and the astrological signs. With like the higher up it is, this is the ecliptic path of the sun, and so like the higher it is, like that's where it's in like in Cancer, but that's the summer solstice, and where it's lower, it's the winter solstice, and then when it's at the equator, the equatorial times obviously being the spring and the fall. Anyway.
After sunset, and many midsummer nights, the
all
sun
connected.
does not set at all. And it will appear to be much nearer to the ground than it was when we were close to it.
And then I'll just show you as well. I don't want this to run on for too long, but this is my map. I've had this since, well, this is a picture that I've had since 2011. And I got when I was in Fredericton, New Brunswick, still in the infantry as an officer, and I was teaching courses in 2IC of this company. And anyway, this also has the zodiac, zodiac signs in it as well. If you can see that. Like Cancer and Taurus and Capricorn and all. These. I gotta do my nails. Anyway, and then it talks about Tartaria as well, and which is like more advanced civilizations, and I could go on a list, right? Like even with like the more like ancient advanced structures that even at the tops it shows that that they were used as antennas, and that certain elements were used and materials were used because they were more conductive, I guess, like they were able to like utilize like electricity and like magnetism more effectively in order to allow there to be like more free energy and power and energy sources. And so within Canada, like all over the world, and I have traveled the world as well, and I've seen a lot of the stuff for myself, taken a lot of pictures. I've been to Egypt. I was all over Egypt, including like on the Nile, on a catamaran, and all over, and took pictures all over Europe and Canada, clearly the US, anyway, other areas, and always wanted to see these more ancient, advanced like structures and texts and different like cultural like tokens and stuff like that as well. So I've gone to like a lot of art galleries and museums and monuments and in various places, and very interesting. Italy too, it was amazing, and a lot of old history there. And I really want to go to Greenland because of a lot of the ancient history there, and like the possible access to the North Pole through that area being easier, and a lot of the apparent footage from space being filmed in Greenland and northern islands in Canada. And so I think that's enough freaking points on like, and these are only like not even a touch of the books I have. Like in my own library, I have so many books, right? But I also have a lot of audiobooks as well. I have freaking like hundreds of audiobooks, and then podcasts and things like that. So it's so people, and then going on my own and doing research. So I highly recommend people do that. And so like and come at me with like your proof of the globe, and don't just give me a globe and say here's a proof that the earth is a globe, the earth is a globe, because like that proves nothing, right? And that's where we have to take our theories and we have to apply them in nature, and which is why for me, trying to like even like share this like in my fourth year like science degree in Carleton University, it felt like almost impossible. But I'm coming from a place where like I have a lot more experience in education than like even the professors. I don't mean to sound like to say anything like where I'm talking more like I'm better than people. It's just a reality that even like as a teenager, I got a full scholarship to go to a military university. It was a full scholarship, and it was during a year that it's very competitive. RMC is a very competitive university. We call it a college just to like the traditional like constitutional monarchy with London and with Britain, because they call their educational institutions still colleges as well. And the U.S. calls them universities, but it is a university. It's technically considered a university, not a college. And yeah, so I went on there on a full scholarship, and then also was like the top. I got top academic awards when I was there, top athletic awards. I always held like positions of responsibility, and on various teams, like even the Sandhurst obstacle course team and firearms and you name it. And then trying to go for more degrees. So I never just stopped at that. And then I was even one of two people selected to go to West Point on exchange in my fourth year. And then also was the cadet squadron leader of the only squadron, 6th Squadron. I was 8 and 6 Squadron when I was RMC, if anyone wants to know. And yeah, during the only with the only squadron at that point, or what do we call it, that didn't have like a captain, like an official officer that was assisting me with like a lot of the stuff like regarding the management of the other cadets, right? Because I believe it was maternity leave, don't quote me on that, which is fine. And she was a great officer too, and she yeah, anyways, maternity leave, so like I had to take over a lot of stuff, and so where was I going with that? So I'm just coming from experience. And then I was also like I was asked to apply to the special forces when you're usually people they spend their years trying to get selected to go, and that was very humbling as well. But it's not because it's just because I was good at my job, and I still am. I just need to get hired for these contracts like hostile environment awareness training and the standing up to deployment team courses and all this other stuff, like this in-person training that needs to be done again. And it's not popular right now because I've been saying stuff like the pandemic was planned and like this was a linked virus and it was gain of function, and I was saying like that, you know, like Snake Island, like this was a lie, and I was saying like that the drone that struck like the like in Afghanistan, like it actually, you know, it killed innocent civilians and you name it, and it hasn't gotten better since, right? Like I seem to be going always completely against mainstream media and freaking like Netflix and our leaders, and so I'm looking I don't know, I'm getting vilified and character assassinated and things like that because I'm just, I guess, what I'm saying, it makes people uncomfortable, and I think that we need to have a certain degree of discomfort in order to self-actualize and progress in life, and so and not just take things at face value, because we're getting lied to a lot about a lot of things, and there's a lot of corruption in our Canadian government all over the world. But like I'm more concerned with my own freaking country, and I've buried people in war and then also at home, in war, and also because of suicide, because of trying to be there and stand up for people's rights and freedoms. And so I don't want that to be for naught, right? And while people are trying to steal more money in government, elected officials, somehow elected, I don't know how, like Chrystia Freeland and Patty Hajdu and Vera Etches, and people that are still working and getting paid money, and making it where people like me are not getting hired because of like mandates and or because of what I'm saying calls them out and their lies. And so I'm just wondering why people are more upset with me for telling the truth and feel the need or feel compelled to to slam me on various forms of social media or even in person, or just like ghost me or ignore facts. I'm just venting. I'm just saying that this is like the experience for like so many different people in this situation. But why not just get mad at the people that told you the lies to begin with? That's what I want to get at. Like, why not get mad at your teachers or your doctors or the people that like lied to you originally, your own parents, right? And like not get mad at me, right? I'm just the messenger of and I'm sharing proof to substantiate and back up what I'm saying. And I think that on that note, I'm going to leave it at that, and I really do hope that people have a great day. I'll just link for this one the Eric Dubé, The Best Flat Earth documentary on this description box, instead of just sharing like a lot like I usually do, because it's over 6 hours long in and itself, and it's when I first watched this too, and one similar to this, it took me more than 6 hours to get through it, right? I was stopping it throughout multiple times and trying to verify like things that I was curious about or like not so certain about, and not taking things at face value, right? So like not only am I sharing with you videos that I've looked at myself repeatedly, but I've also verified and backed up a lot of stuff in there to corroborate why I'm sharing this information. So anyway, I'm rambling on again. So on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.